Welcome back to episode 10 of the ENGINE9000 Debugger series. Today we're going to talk about the new palette visualizer. Palette visualizer, let's start off. For me to explain how this works, we're going to just run through a couple of different scenarios. So let's start off where we left off yesterday with Worthy. We'll turn it on. Yeah, Worthy is a simple game. We can see down here, I've added a new feature where it counts the number of colors as it's doing the frame rate analysis. And if we've got a simple game like Worthy with no copper list changes to the palette, it will just provide a column for each color. So that's the Worthy palette. Nice and easy. So then now let's step up to a slightly more complicated game. We'll go with Metro Siege. Now, in this screen in Metro Siege, let's have a look at it. We can see that we've got two different screen modes. We've got a 32 color mode, we've got a 16 color mode, and we can see that it switches here. We can see here the hit plane control writes by the copper as it switches screen mode. But we can also see we've got copper changes. So what this is saying is, in this screen mode, here are the 32 colors, and then here are the colors of the palette as they traverse down the screen and change by the copper. Now, if your copper list changes at mid-screen, well, that's going to, depending on where it changes in relation to these columns, it will show varying results. The way this visualizer works is it just simulates these columns into the emulator before the emulator goes and does the video rendering emulation. So it just creates these colors based on the number of bit planes that are enabled. So that's cool. So we can see here in this particular screen mode in Metro Siege, we do some color changes, but we don't do any in the bottom. And that's because we don't need to, basically. Now let's go one step more complicated. Let's have a look at our old friend Lionheart. Okay, palette visualizer. So this one's got a little bit more going on. It's got dual playfield mode. So the dual playfield mode, it renders two groups of columns so that we can see each individual palettes of each of those dual playfields. But we can see here in Lionheart, there's a ton of colors being changed, amongst other things. So that's pretty awesome. We can see as we move, we can see that the copper's being dynamically changed, which is very nice. We can also see down below here that it's got 175 colours, close to 172, 173. That's awesome. Okay, so now let's just talk about one more limitation. So let's switch back to this slideshow. Is something that's in my Amiga examples that I wrote, way back in 2016. But this is a way to try and exercise the ham conversion tool I was running at the time. But we can see here we've got 831 colours. It also says 50 FPS now. The reason it says that, I think from memory, this is a high-res interlaced screen, so the colours are changing every field, hence it detects it at 50 frames a second. Which I guess is another weakness of this FPS estimator. Anyway, what we can see in the palette visualizer here is that we get the original palette, but then we just see the channel ramps. So this is sort of, I guess, limited use in ham mode, because in reality, obviously, we'd have combinations of these ramps. So I'm not really sure what a good solution is for that yet, but you do get an accurate representation of the number of colours. If we carry this on until the next image loads, you can see, this one's got far less colours than the previous one. Quite a few less colours than the original image we showed and back up. So in ham mode this is probably useful, whereas the visualizers, I guess you can see what the base palette is, but from there it's definitely less useful. Anyway, that's where we are for today. See you next time.